Hello everyone, my name is Diego Alfonso. I'm one of your hosts with the Florida Aviation Network. We're broadcasting live and in the clear from the Florida Air Museum at the SNF complex in Lakeland, Florida. We're celebrating the 40th annual SNF Fly-In and Exposition. Today, my guest is Randy Boone. Randy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Diego.
Randy is the president of Aviation Survival Technologist. This is probably one of the best allies that any pilot has, regardless of where you're flying. And I'll tell you, I'm dying to get into all the details of this, of how can I be safer when I'm flying regardless, anywhere. But before we get into that, Randy, here's what I would like to ask you. Tell us, how did you get interested in aviation? Because I understand you're a pilot, and what I would like you to know, for you to tell us is, when did that start? I mean, what was the spark, the dream that said, Randy, you're going to be a pilot? Could you please let us know about that?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm not a pilot. I was a crew member with the Coast Guard. I joined the Coast Guard years ago, went on an icebreaker, did the boat service, and then I decided to get into aviation. And I started out in Traverse City, Michigan, flying HU-16, not flying, but flying crew member in the HU-16s. And then I went to Kodiak, Alaska, and did 3 tours in Kodiak, flying in the C-130s as a crew member. And I was actually the person in the back of the aircraft that looked out the windows and looked for you, searched for people in the water. And I also opened up the back of the aircraft, and I was a drop master, and I was the one who pushed the gear out to the people in the water. And so that's something that I did for 23 years with the Coast Guard. And then when I retired, I decided to continue helping people, and I started Aviation Survival Technologies to provide some of the same kind of equipment that the Coast Guard crews use. In fact, the kits that I build, a lot of the equipment is the exact same equipment that they use in those aircraft. So that's how I basically got started into the aviation.
So you're actually an on-hands kind of survivalist.
Oh, yes.
In other words, you didn't learn this in a book anywhere, you really did this for a long time.
My job in the Coast Guard was called Aviation Survival Technologies, or Aviation Survivalman. And basically what I did was we packed the life rafts, we packed the life vest. Anything that had to do with rescue or survival, we packed that gear. And as well, in the Coast Guard, you work on the aircraft and you fly on the aircraft as well. So you could be working on that aircraft, changing out life rafts or something that morning. That afternoon, you could actually be flying on a patrol or on a search or something like that.
Perfect. Now, let's get into Aviation Survival Technologies. Okay. Why did you start this company? In other words, why didn't you just go ahead and let us know what was the motivation behind getting this company going?
Well, because I did so much searching in the for people in the water, I realized that a lot of people are not prepared. I mean, especially up in Alaska, when you're searching for people in the water, it's very difficult because mostly what you're looking for is orange colors, like an orange life raft, orange life vest, or whatever. So the problem is crab buoys up in Alaska, so it's like you're continually searching. So I was thinking to myself, what could I do if I were down there to make myself visible? And that's what I did. I designed my company around helping others as far as giving them emphasis in signaling, and as well giving them some other comfort items that will keep them comfortable. The idea around the company is there's a lot of survival companies out there that are land-based. My company is a technique towards water survival, which is a whole different program. I mean, to survive in the water is much more difficult than surviving on land. You have nothing in the water. You can't build a fire. You can't get into shelter. So you're at the mercy of the waters that you're floating in. So that's basically why I started the company. I wanted to get basically idea out there to the people. I want to spread the word to people that you can help yourselves, you can get better protection when you're flying over water, and you really need to. And that's a big problem down in the Florida and the Gulf area, is that people down here do not realize that once you go into the water, and if you have no equipment, first of all, we're not going to be able to find you. I mean, the chances are going to be very slim that we're going to be able to find you if you're just a head bobbing in the water. And then, you have to, think about hypothermia, which people don't think about it much down here, but just a few years ago, we had some football players that went out in that small boat.
I remember.
And they succumbed to hypothermia, except for one person. And he was able to tell his story, and from reading his book, it was clear to me that, what happened on that particular event is what really happens out there. And
it's funny that you say that, because I've been living in Florida now for about 30 years. And of course, I work for a company here in Orlando that we used to do a lot of charter work to the Bahamas, and then I did crossings, single engine crossings.
Right.
Like with my wife and myself. Let's go to the islands, which is just beautiful.
Right.
And you know that until I saw your first presentation, this is probably about a couple years ago, I really didn't realize how important it is. Because what you just said, people say, well, if I'm between Palm Beach and, which is what the rationale,
right.
Between Palm Beach and Grand Bahama, that's 50 miles.
Yeah.
It takes a chopper 20 minutes. But then what is the chopper looking for?
Right.
When you said
well,
head in the water,
right.
That's exactly what it is.
Right.
And
how do they know you're even in the water? So I mean, that could be a possibility too.
Exactly, and I think that pilots have a false sense of security, especially here. And I hope that during the presentation you touch on that. Right. On the next topic that we have here, let's talk about what does the Aviation Survival Technologist package contain. In other words, if I feel that I want to get some of this material, what is it that I get and how do I get it?
Okay, I designed a signal survival kit when I retired out of the Coast Guard and started the company. It was my first product, and it made a pretty good showing in the aviation consumer. But basically what it is, it's a kit that you carry on you. It's a fanny pack. It's loaded with mostly signaling equipment. What I wanted to do was provide signals rather than long-term survival stay, because there's no such thing as long-term survival stay in water that's over 70 degrees, which most of it is out there.
Right.
So the objective is to get you out of the water, not to help you survive for 2 or 3 days. You have all these kits out here that say they're good for survival for a week. I don't want you to stay out there a week. So what I do is I pack it with signaling equipment. It's got signal mirrors, it's got sea-dye marker, it's got space blankets for signaling, as well as wrapping it around you, flashlights, strobe lights. I mean, it's loaded with signals. And as well, it has a place where you can place a PLB, and I sell the PLB kits as well. Along with that. So the objective is not to give you long-term survival, but to get you out of that water now. And that's the whole objective of these kits.
Right.
And that's really the only way you're going to survive out there. I mean, you can't build a tent, you can't build a shelter. There's nothing I can put in a kit that's going to keep you from catching hypothermia. So
okay. Now, when it comes to the signaling, could you describe one of them? How does it work? What does it do?
Sure. Well, first of all, you got the signal mirror, which is probably one of the most effective signals you can carry. If you don't have a kit on you, at least when you're flying, you should have a mirror in your pocket or someplace where it's not going to fall out after you're climbing out of the aircraft. But a signal mirror has been known to reach up to 60 miles, which is a very effective signal. So, of course, you're not going to get 60 miles on the horizon, but if you go up 30 degrees and flash 30 degrees up, if there's an aircraft within 60 miles, he's going to see that flash. And if they're looking for you, then they're going to say, okay, let's go towards that flash and see what that is. Right. So a signal mirror is one item. You got the space blanket, which is it's mostly a land product, but you can wrap that around you and it will protect you from the sun. It also puts out a very good signal, and it puts out a radar signal as well. So it's got a lot of good effective signals in it.
Okay. Before we forget, I want to make sure that our audience, both the ones watching and the ones listening on the radio, know what your website is. So please tell us what your website is.
Okay, the website is astoverwater.com.
And you want to repeat that again slowly.
Okay, astoverwater.com.
Okay, so if I'm out there and I want to buy any of your products, all I do is I go to that website and I can order right from there.
Exactly.
And there will be explanations on the products and everything else.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Now I understand that you're kind of a diversified company. In other words, you have other things in the work. So would you please would like to tell us about that?
All right. I also have another website. It's MST for marine people. If anyone has boats, so you can go on a marine site and look at that as well.
And would you tell us the website?
It's mstoverwater.com.
mstoverwater.com. mstoverwater.com.
Mike Sierra Tango.
Yeah, the reason why I do that because I'm a little bit hard of hearing, and I know there are people out there in radio world and television world that have the same problem.
Right,
so
okay.
Okay.
And then as well as the marine side of the company, I also do training. I'm probably the only person that not only sells life rafts, but I tell you that I will teach you how to use that life raft as well. So I offer classes to anyone that would like to go to the classes and go through. And what we do is we inflate a life raft. We actually climb into the life raft and we talk about what we do in the life raft and so on and so forth. And then we talk about open water survival with the life vest, what's going to happen if you don't have a life vest, which isn't good. So we kind of touch on a lot of different things in that training session. And I base it on the 7 steps to survival. And basically it's a plan that I learned when I was up in Alaska. I went through a Alaska training school up there for teaching survival.
Okay.
Not learning survival, but they taught you how to teach survival.
Right.
And basically they talk about the 7 steps to survival, which is, I'm going to mess this up, but recognition, you have to recognize that you're having a problem and then you have to act. Inventory, what do you have on you that's going to help you, what's going to hurt you. Shelter, you have to get out of that water any way you can. If you have a life raft, that's good. Signals, you have to make sure that they're effective. You may not have a second chance on signals because a plane flies over you. That might be the first time and last time that they fly over you.
Exactly.
So your signals have to be effective. Water, you can only last 3 days without water. And then food is the 6th one. I don't push food a lot because you're not going to find food out there in the open ocean too often. And then water is play is the last step to the 7 steps of survival. And that means make light of your situation, tell jokes, build on your other 6 steps to the 7 steps, and then pray. If you don't pray, now's a good time to start.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that because when I was younger, I would cross out there without thinking about anything. But I don't know, age has something that as you get older, you start bringing in older.
Those, yeah.
And one of the things that that concerns me is sharks.
Yeah.
In your works, do you have anything that is a shark repellent or works against that?
No. Your shark attacks normally happen along the coastlines, and what happens is the sharks will come inland and start feeding, and there's people out there, and they may get in the way. When I was stationed in Clearwater, we actually had the crews coming back talking about people out in the water, saying that they could see sharks swimming around the people. So normally you don't have to worry too much about sharks, and that would be, to me, one of the last things I'd be worried about.
Randy, it's been a pleasure having you here. Unfortunately, we have come to that time where we're going to have to say goodbye, and really appreciate you for that. And thank you for joining us. My name is Diego Alfonso with the Florida Aviation Network, and we will be back very soon.